Hello, everybody, and welcome to Sister Saturday. I am so excited about our show today. I've got Briana Johnson with us today of Bahati Tea Company, and she also has her own podcast called Owning Your Truth. So say hello to everybody, Briana.
Hello.
And we are so excited to have her with us today. And we're going to get started in just a few minutes, but let me introduce myself to those that may not know me. My name is Melesha Bailey. I am the owner of Love for Life Wellness here in Springfield, Missouri. I started my wellness journey about 7 years ago out of my own illness. I was very sick. I had fibromyalgia, degenerative disc disease in my back. I was addicted to pain medicine. Many of you have probably heard the story many times before, but it's a very important because that sickness led me to the road to wellness. And I am well now. I'm not perfect, but I am very, very well, and I appreciate that. And so what I did is I went to school to learn how to basically take care of myself. And then Love for Life was birthed out of that. And so the first part of my wellness journey, I created the Let Go system from my journey and from my clients' journey. And so Let Go stands for Live, Eat, and Transform. And so that's what I did, and that's what I do with my clients. And so we go, it's 9 keys, and we won't go over all those, but it is it's a process to get well and to have healing. And as we're going to learn about today, herbs are a big part of the healing process, along with food, diet, and exercise, and all the other things that we need for good optimal health. So I appreciate my Sister to Sister Saturdays because I get to talk to wellness practitioners or financial people or coaches all across the world that help to empower women in the world to be better, to be our best selves. And so I appreciate Briana being on our show today. And we're going to get started without further ado. I mean, I could go and I'll talk a little bit about some of the programs maybe I better go do a little bit of that. But as a health coach, I have lots of programs. I'm getting ready to do a detox, and I have loads and loads of things that I offer my clients. But the main thing I'm offering right now is the hair tissue mineral analysis, which is a holistic approach to wellness using hair as a way to see what's actually going on the inside of you. And so I am really excited about that. My clients, with the test, we're seeing amazing things that are going on in our body that we didn't know. And then that really helps the road to wellness. So it's all inclusive. And I know that teas and herbs are a big part of the wellness journey. So I think I'm done. So anyway, I'm excited about today's show today with Briana Johnson. So Briana, first of all, just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started on your journey.
Well, Melesha, that's one thing you and I have in common. I was learning about holistic health because of my health conditions. I have been a certified herbalist now for over a decade, and it did start rather small. I used to help myself and friends and family who had health issues to help improve their health. And then 2 years ago, I opened up Bahati Tea Company. And Bahati Tea Company specializes in gourmet loose leaf teas. And they're not just the basic run of the mill teas. We incorporate plenty of herbs in our teas so that they have healthful benefits as well as being quite flavorful and almost addictive. So they're good for you. People love to drink them. And it's not uncommon for someone to say, hey, I have 3 of your teas, one for morning, one for afternoon, and one for evening. So that makes me super excited when I can share the health benefits of our teas. So I want to thank you so much for having me on today. This has been, so far, it's just a great experience and such a pleasure to be able to collaborate with you. We did have a podcast together as well, and we got to talk about healthful things too. So I am blessed that you asked me to return the favor. So thank you so much.
Well, I appreciate you. I love being on your show, and her teas are amazing. And as a health coach, I know we're supposed to drink green tea, but I don't particularly care for green tea. But the day I went in to do Brianna's podcast, I have been sick, and I mean that tea really made me feel so good. It was delicious. I've been drinking it ever since. And let me tell you, the tea for nighttime to helping me sleep. sleep. It is amazing. So she has got some great teas that are flavorful. They're good, but they're good for your body. And so I'm thinking about working with her and creating a tea for my clients and that I can share with them for different things that they're experiencing. So I'm looking forward to a great collaboration with Briana and Bahati Tea Company as we work for to help people to just to feel better. So yeah, her teas are amazing, y'all. So I will give the link and everything at the end so that you, if you want some of her teas, please get them. They're great. So let's add, the first question I want to ask you is what are adaptogens? What are adaptogens? I hear that word a lot, but let's explain it.
Sure. So adaptogens are a fairly new concept for the Western Hemisphere. In Eastern medicine, they use adaptogens all the time. And adaptogens are broken down into three different categories. We have primary adaptogens, secondary adaptogens, and then we have adaptogen companions. And what all of these do is they work in conjunction to help balance out our body. They promote homeostasis. So what they're balancing out is our body's functions and our systems. And they do this by resisting physical, chemical, and biological stressors and their effects on our body. So they're almost like a shield. They help protect us against those forces that make us feel yucky, that compromise our immune system, that maybe keep us from sleeping well at night. And so it's this thyroid, pituitary, and adrenal synchronicity that they do. So they're working in all three of those spectrums. And what we have with these, the primary, for example, the primary works directly with those three areas, the thyroid, the pituitary, and the adrenal. What the secondary adaptogens do is they work in conjunction with other systems that help promote those three areas. And then when you're talking about our companions, our adaptogen companions, what they do is they help to absorb, help our body to absorb and assimilate those adaptogens and the first and the secondary adaptogens so that our body doesn't see them as foreign entities. So for example, sometimes your doctor will tell you if you're sick, you need to take lots of vitamin C. But the thing is if you're not taking zinc in conjunction with the vitamin C, your body flushes it through. So we need those adaptogen companions to recognize and to help absorb those good properties in our body so we're not just flushing them through.
And as you were talking, I can see how that could even help with my hair tissue analysis, because one of the things that really shows up on the analysis is how our endocrine system works. And that is how the thyroid is working and how the adrenals are working. And so a lot of times, like my thyroid's out of whack, a lot of the clients, especially women, I see that a lot. And so that I could see how even when that shows up on the test, being able to use teas that will address the issues with the thyroid, the pituitary, and the adrenal glands, along with supplementation and diet and lifestyle modification, how it can bring about that that homeostasis, that synchronicity in the body better, quicker, and faster. So, I mean, it's like a no-brainer.
Right. Well, and it's interesting that you mentioned that because teas are a great way, and that's one of the ways that you can take the adaptogens. And some of our blends do have adaptogens in them, and some of the more common ones like licorice and ginger and elderberry. We do have teas that have those, but it's very difficult to incorporate all the adaptogens all in one source. There are so many adaptogens. Some of them are common to us and we understand, but some of them, the names are kind of weird and they're things we don't have readily access to. So we can take them in tincture or extract form. We can take them fresh. We can add them into our foods, the teas, and then also the supplements that you mentioned. So there are many ways to make sure that we get as many adaptogens in our bodies and in our diets as possible. In fact, if you want to make them the most effective, it is recommended that you get a variety. You don't just stick with one because each of them does something slightly different and they complement each other. So for holistic health, you would want to incorporate them in multiple ways in your diet, but also multiple different varieties of those adaptogens as well.
And so to incorporate in different ways in your diet, how would you do that? What would that look like?
So for me, and what I tell people too, because we both talk to people with health concerns, and so one of the easiest ways to do that is with your food and with what you drink. All right. So for example, I have a list here of different types of things. Cinnamon, for example, that happens to be an adaptogen. How silly is that? We love cinnamon, right?
Yes.
Cinnamon is easy to incorporate into your diet. You can do that with food. You can cook with cinnamon. You can add that into your beverages. And the more that we do that, and the more exposure we have to that, the more that adaptogen is helping us. Along with that, common ones are ginger root and licorice root that I mentioned, red raspberry leaf, and elderberry. Some of the other ones that we're starting to get a little bit more familiar with are ginseng, holy basil, maca, that's M-A-C-A, astragalus, and then there are a couple of mushrooms. Mushrooms kind of go under the radar a lot of the time because people don't know much about them. But reishi and lion's mane for sure are adaptogens. And they're constantly adding new adaptogens to this list. This isn't an all-inclusive. There's a lot that have really long names and are hard to spell and pronunciate that I did not put on here. But they're also fun to experiment with. Because like I said, as you're doing your research and you're like, oh, well, I need something that helps with inflammation, you're going to find a ton of things on that list. And really, because these are foods, there's not a lot of harmful interaction unless it's known that there's an interaction with maybe a prescription medication you have, or if you have an allergy. Outside of that, these are all really, really pretty much unharmed, something that's easy to take and not harmful for your body with no side effects. The only side effect is that you'll probably be feeling a little bit better.
That's amazing. And it doesn't cost that much either, I would imagine.
No, food is really the best medicine. It doesn't cost a lot, and it's something that we can do ourselves. It just takes a little bit of education, a little bit of research, and more than anything, it's persistence. And I think that's the hardest thing for some of us, is because it is a lifestyle change. It's so easy to go through a drive-through and have someone hand us a food, but it's more difficult for us to research what our body needs, to find out where we get it, and then how to prepare it. And so there's a little bit of a learning curve for some of us. I know that in my herbal studies that started, more than 10 years ago, that was the one thing that I was learning too. And as a mom, we teach our kids, you're responsible for your own education. If you want to learn it, you've got to go and find out. And so I tried to have that childlike mindset and that curiosity with this. What does this do? How do I prepare it? Do I like the flavor? Because that's another fun part of this too. We get to try all of these new different things. So that's kind of what I tell people too. It's like, think of it as an experiment or a journey, something that you're trying to investigate. Whatever it is that sparks your curiosity, that's the path that you want to go down.
That's amazing. That is, and it's a path that, like you said, it's not going to happen overnight. It takes trial and effort, and what works for me may not work for you.
True.
And so that's why you have to experiment with different things to figure out what works for you, and that's going to give you the best result. And so a lot of times we're not instantaneous, but it's not, we didn't get sick overnight. And a lot of times our transformation or restoration is not going to take, it'll take some time. But that's why I work with my clients. I'm like, take your time and don't rush, because it's no tricks or gimmick. It's just diligence and persistence and finding out what your body needs to achieve the best health. So absolutely. So when we're talking about turning around our health, what are some of the key features that adaptogens can, some of the adaptogens can help you with?
So we have hormonal balancing, which is super important, like you mentioned, especially for women. As we get older, our hormones get out of whack. And a lot of that is because we take on a lot of stressors. And we don't realize when we're younger, we don't see the effects of it. But as we get older, we start to take on some weight. We end up having an imbalance in our thyroids. We have issues with anxiety, possibly inflammation, trouble sleeping. That's usually a big one. So the adaptogens can help with all of those. They can also help with digestion. They can help balance out your sugar levels for those who are concerned about possible diabetes issues, and weight fluctuation. We as women also, are concerned about that. We can fluctuate between 5 pounds within one day, and so adaptogens can help with that. They help eliminate some of that bloating and excess weight feeling. So
Yes, yes. And so let me go back just a little bit. So the adaptogens, they're found in food, herbs, supplements.
Yes, you can find supplements. And again, you want what I would suggest, and because it's impossible again to give an entire list, what I would suggest is that the listeners and the viewers go ahead and research a list of adaptogens.
Okay.
Every list that they pull will be different because, like I said, they're doing research all the time to find new adaptogens. So you may find a list that you're like, huh, I've never seen this before. Well, it's a possibility they recently added it to the list, or at least to the American side of the list, because we, again, are starting to learn more and more about these every day. I recently started taking maca and astragalus, and I absolutely love them. I love the effects. They have helped me balance my sugar. And here's another side effect, too, that's really, really beneficial. For those things that do help us to regulate our sugar, right? They're not just balancing our sugar level. What they're actually doing is preventing us from taking that sugar, metabolizing it, and turn it into fat cells.
Yes.
So that when we have something that balances our sugar, it's preventing that from happening. The danger of accumulating too much of those fat cells is that they can also harbor horrible, nasty things that are environmental, stress, possibly even cancer. So we want to make sure we are flushing those fat cells and not holding on to them. So anything that you see that says sugar balancer or balances sugar, helps to balance glucose levels, make sure that you already don't have an issue as far as balancing your sugar levels and that you're within healthy range for most of these, unless it says otherwise. And of course, you want to consult with your healthcare practitioner. But those are really, really great at helping us from becoming too overweight. And a lot of people don't realize that they're with that sugar balance, it's also weight balance, which is helpful.
That's so that you're absolutely right. That weight balance. I was just reading today about, that it's that balance, that balance and that imbalance. That's what causes the issue. And when I saw your show, I was like, "Dag, I look so big," but on the other side, I was way bigger than that. And no, I'm not at the weight I want, and I work very hard. But I think, when we have hormone imbalances and we have stress and all of that contributes, and you're not sleeping well, that
Right.
all contributes to, issues with weight and issues with stress and imbalances. So I work very hard. But if I was telling somebody, I was like, "Dang, I saw myself on that video." But somebody told me, they was like, "I would rather come to you who looks like a regular, normal person than somebody that's real skinny and that doesn't have a clue of what I'm going through." And so I just say I'm a real person, but I'm in the journey with everybody to
Exactly.
help. So when I learn things, I want to help other people, and I'm not perfect, but I'm striving to be the best I can. I try to take my clients along with me. You know what
Well,
I'm
and
saying?
you're authentic, and that's the thing. And I was just recently talking to someone who's kind of coaching me along my journey as well. And it's the authenticity that people want to see. We're past the point of wanting smoke and daggers and cloak and mirrors. We want the truth. And so you and I come and we bear all, our hearts are on our sleeves and we're just out here helping people because we've already done this or we are doing this and we know the struggle is real. So we can empathize and we come with a listening ear and a little bit of wisdom. So
Well, that's it. That's what wisdom want. They want people that people. That's what people want. They want wisdom. They want people that are authentic. They want people that they can relate to. And I know that's what your audience they appreciate in you because they can relate to you, your journey, your struggles, and your triumphs, and I'm sure when you have your triumphs, you are eager to share with everybody as well too.
Yeah.
So with the adaptogens, I guess my next question is, how do they work? What happens when you start integrating adaptogens in your body?
Well, like I said, what I have noticed, and I have been taking them for about a month now, I have noticed that I'm losing inches, which is super exciting, right? And it's probably been, I don't know, it's been 3 or 4 weeks since you and I saw each other. But the cool thing is that some of my clothes are fitting better.
Yeah.
And I'm not so moody. I feel like I have a little bit more energy throughout the day. The other cool thing is that I'm not nearly as hungry. I don't have cravings for sugary stuff. I used to be really, really big on dark chocolate. Occasionally it's still good. But even carbs, I was huge on pasta and breads, absolutely loved them. I did something yesterday that I haven't done in over a month, and I splurged and went to a restaurant and had biscuits and gravy and grits and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I haven't done this in over a month, and I haven't wanted it. Like, I haven't craved it. And it gave me that sense of empowerment back that I felt like maybe I had lost before. Because sometimes our bodies are dictating to us what we do. And when we have a food craving, it's because our body is missing something. And people don't realize that. So let's say, for example, you're craving a cheeseburger. There's a good chance you're either short on calcium or iron or protein.
Absolutely.
And so your body is telling you, I am starving. You are starving me. Give me what I need. And when you go to get that cheeseburger, you're only giving it a small amount of what it needs and a large percentage of stuff we don't need. And so what happens? We pack on the pounds, we get another food craving. We want to satisfy that craving because we have starved our body of the basic nutrition. And so what I'm learning with my journey with adaptogens is that I am nourishing that part of my body that needs it the most. And I am starving the fat cells that I don't need. And my body is just kind of jettison that, I've been able to even go to the bathroom more regularly, which for women is sometimes a difficult thing. So what I'm realizing is my body is just going, this has been stored here for a while and we don't need it. Let's just throw away.
Right.
We're not using it. I don't know why it's here. But what's really, really cool is that when you start giving your body what it does need, it gets rid of the stuff it doesn't. So,
and the thing about it, when you give your body what it does needs, like, it'll turn it around real quickly. It doesn't take a long time at all. It really isn't, because the body has been starving for us to make those changes. It's probably been yelling at us for a long time. Do this. And we haven't done it. We've overlooked it and done what we wanted to do. And then when we start listening, it's that mind-body connection. And when you get that mind and body to connect, that's when the magic happens, and that's when things just start flowing and clicking and turns around really quickly. It really does.
Absolutely. So what I've decided to do is, because sometimes we get things in supplement form, and they're concentrated, and our body really doesn't have time to process it. So what I have done, and again, this isn't for everyone, I'm experimenting on myself because I'm a really good guinea pig, but what I've decided to do is do my vitamin and mineral supplements on day 1. Then day 2, I do my herbal and adaptogen supplements. So every other day it's switching. And what this has given my body the chance to do is assimilate what it needs and then get rid of what it doesn't, instead of giving it everything at once and saying, figure it out. It's very similar to our diets, right? And we just talked about this with adaptogens. We need a variety of foods because our body pulls different things from those foods.
Right.
If we're constantly giving it the same thing all the time, even if it's something that seemingly is good, like let's say oranges, for example, oranges are good for us. But if all we're having is oranges, we're going to have a very big problem with acidic levels. We're going to start turning orange because of the properties in the orange. Our body is going to be depleted of all these other minerals and nutrients and vitamins that it needs. but oranges are good for us, right? So
Right.
we have to add different things into the mix. And it's the same way when we're taking vitamins and supplements, even teas. I tell people all the time, don't just stick with one tea. Get a
Mhm.
variety, because at some point your body's going to get used to this one tea and it's going to stop absorbing anything from it, because it's like, you know what, we're full. We're full of this.
We've been there, done that. It's like
Yes.
something else. Like when you work out, you got to work different muscles, and
Yes.
your body gets adjusted to it very quickly. That makes a lot of sense. It really, really does. And I like how you said like I have some clients that just want to eat the same thing all the time. And you're constantly trying to say, eat a rainbow and eat different things and try
Yes.
different things. But sometimes we don't want to try different things. We get locked and loaded on what we know. And doing something different is like an unknown. And that
Yep.
can be hard sometimes because people are like, I don't want to try something different. But that's what happens. That's when we grow, we mature, and we will see transformation when we're open to doing and learning different things. So, I mean, I'm learning today as well too. So that's great. So, adaptogens now, is it a product that you take, or what is it that you're doing for the
So, okay, a little insider information. I use vitacost.com for my
Okay.
supplements. But again, that's not my only source, right? Since I drink a lot of teas, a lot of my adaptogens are stuff that I consume on a regular daily basis. And again, the more that I swap those out and change them up occasionally, the better my health is going to improve. My business partner, he's Jamaican American. He works in the armed forces, but we were having this conversation last night, and he said, do you feel like your journey with your health has improved significantly since we opened the tea company? And I had to think about that, right? Because I already thought I was a healthy person. I already thought, but he challenged me.
Mhm.
And so, of course, I drink more teas now that I own a tea company. And that has forced me, I think, in a lot of ways to become healthier.
Mhm.
Because one, everything's more accessible. And two, I have to practice what I preach to other people. So I have to drink, 2, 3 cups a day. I have to switch it up in the variety. Even when I'm blending a tea, I have to make sure it's not like something we've already had. What purpose does it fill? Am I helping somebody that maybe has an ailment or something they're trying to get over? So yes, I think my health has improved exponentially since starting the tea company 2 years ago. But again, it's because my pattern of behavior has changed. And that is the kicker right there. Like you said, we get so used to being in a certain type of mind frame or a certain pattern of behavior, and it becomes second nature, and we don't think that maybe we could just change just one thing today, and how that spirals into a whole new lifestyle. It's incredible.
It really is. And that's kind of how I work with my clients is that pattern of behavior, changing habits, changing those patterns and changing one thing at a time. Because lots of my people will come to me with a list. I want to change this, 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 and this. But the thing is, you could get overwhelmed trying to change everything at one time. And
Yes.
so if you do one thing at a time and get proficient at that, and then you can move on to the next, then it doesn't feel like it's an overwhelm. And that's what you don't want to feel. You don't want to feel overwhelmed. I'm sure
No.
you've been in that spot where it's like, okay, I need to lose weight. I need to toss my stress. I need to do this. I need to do that. And that's what, then when you get overwhelmed, you don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
And that's what we don't want to happen.
We
So
just want to give up.
yeah. And I think sometimes you may answer this too. I think sometimes by the time I get a lot of clients come to me, they have tried so many things and they're at the point they just want to give up. They don't want another failure. And they're afraid, like, I don't want to try another thing. I don't want another failure.
Yeah.
But you just got to keep going and keep trying different things, your herbs and your supplements and your adaptogens. And I have one of my guests said it's a tool belt. It's a tool belt of
Yes.
things. CBD, good protein powders, your teas, your vitamins. It all works together holistically to help
Right.
us be our best self, right?
Absolutely. And one of the things that you touched on before was that not everything works for everyone. In fact, that sleep tea that you were talking about that you loved, it's called Lavender Dreams, and that works great for 90% of the people. But I'm going to have 10% of those people that say, you know what, I ended up having a boost of energy. I don't know. I couldn't sleep all night. It's because we're all hardwired differently. And
Mhm.
so if that didn't work for that person, then I'll suggest something else. And it is trial and error because we have to listen to our bodies when we're trying these things to see what our body is telling us. Is this working? How do I feel? We've got to give it enough time, of course. And we've got to support our body while it's going through this process. But the hardest thing I think that I've had to tell people for them to understand is that it's a communication. You have a relationship with your body. And if we've been ignoring this baby for 30 years, it's going to have a lot to tell us.
I just want to cry because it's so true. A lot of times we ignore the signals that our body is telling us. And one thing I know is that the body will heal itself by itself, giving half a chance because the body wants to be healed. It doesn't want to be sick. It doesn't want to be filled with disease. But we have to do the things necessarily. I guess the question is, are we willing to do the things necessary to
Right.
get to where we know we want to be? Yes, we need doctors. We absolutely need our doctors, but there are so many other ways that you can use along with the medical profession to get well. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, and
But
even some things that are deemed as incurable, right? I was able to help a man who'd had asthma for 20, 30 years of his life, and he completely eradicated it. It's the same thing with your liver and your kidneys, right? Every 3 or 4 years, you have a brand new liver or kidneys, but only if you're feeding it what it needs to reproduce those cells. So, whatever it is that's wrong with our bodies, yes, absolutely. Our bodies are miracles. They do have the potential to fix themselves. It's up to us to make sure they have the fuel to make the right building blocks. Even teas, I did a event for Mama Jeans here locally Thursday. They had the grand opening for their third location. And I had a couple ladies come up and try the tea. We did iced teas that day. And they asked, so this is really good for us, right? What does this do for my body? And so I got to explain to them what, the teas are good for. And I got to the point where we were talking about cell regeneration and how teas, particularly, they help you to create new cells. Well, how do they do that? They feed your body what it needs to reproduce. So that's also something that some health practitioners are telling people that have cancer. And part of their treatment is to start drinking, especially green tea, because it will help to eliminate the tumor simply by overpowering it with brand new cells. And that is amazing if you think about that our body has the ability to fight off such things if we just give it the right ingredients.
give it the right ingredients and give it half a chance and then just stick with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Stick with it. Don't give up.
Consistency is important. Consistency is
Consistency
important.
is important. And so that is one of the reasons why, you know, I end up working with my clients for a long time because a lot of times it takes a while to get that behavior change and changing those pattern and changing the mindset. And
Absolutely.
that's part of my let go system is really working to change that mindset because a lot of times that is that's what holds us back to achieving to achieving the health that we need. And so that's hard sometimes getting
Right.
that
And they
mindset.
always say the first step is the hardest. And I would say that's probably the hardest. That's definitely the hardest.
It is. And a lot of times with my clients, I spend anywhere 2 to 3 months just working on that mindset change as we're working on behavior modification with foods and exercise and different things like that. But then once they get it, but sometimes it just takes a long time. So
Sure.
yeah, so I'm excited about talking with you about the adaptogens and your show, Own Your Truth. Tell us a little bit about your podcast and how you got it started.
So Own Your Truth was also something I needed to do holistically for myself. It was part of my personal journey. It was getting my story out there. A lot of people that see me, they think a lot of things that really aren't true. I must have come from upper middle class. I must have been well educated. I must have, had this great childhood. None of those things are true. And so Own Your Truth started by me revealing my truth. And part of that was, again, cathartic, and then the other part was building up a trust. How could I expect other people to share their story if I wasn't willing to share mine? So it gradually grew to where I have guests, and again, you were one of them, which I absolutely love our episode. And from there, other people get to share their truths, their journeys, their concerns for the world and for humanity, because a lot of the stuff we talk about is that systematic programming that keeps us in a box. And so we break away from that as individuals. And ultimately, what that does is it heals our society. So we talk about everything on that podcast: parenting, health, sexuality, civil rights. We just go through the whole gambit. And most of the time, I tell people, if it's something no one else wants to talk about or broach, it's probably on the show. So.
Well, I haven't had a chance. I think I've watched one or two of them. But you said that you're getting ready to take a break, and then Brianna said there's 71 podcasts there.
Yes.
So how do they find your podcast? Where is it at?
Okay, so the podcast is actually on 9 different platforms, and everyone has their special one, right? So in order to get a list of those, you would just go to my website and click on the podcast. The website is IamBrianaJohnson.com, and Briana is Briana. And then there is an icon that says Own Your Truth Podcast. And so if you click on that, it gives you a link to all of the different platforms. It's currently on 7 different audio platforms and 2 video platforms. So you can pick your favorites. If you already have an account in one, it'll be super easy. Most of them, are free. So you just click on them and you get to listen or watch, depending on what you did. We just recently started adding them to YouTube. So the end of season 1 is on the YouTube and Patreon, but you can get all 71 audios on all of the audio platforms. And again, there's 7 of those. So plenty to choose from. We're about to launch a party for season 2. That will be on June the 5th, and there is information on that same link that I gave you. You did get your invite, right?
Yes, and I plan to be there. That'd be great. I'm excited. Yeah,
I'm excited too. We're going to air it live on YouTube and on Instagram. So for people who can't be there in person, they'll still be able to join. We're going to have 2 different panel groups. The first one is going to talk about self-identity and self-expression. And we will have people from the artistic community in Springfield talk on that. And then we'll have some live performances, some food, some drinks. And the second panel is the Gen Z generation. They get to come on the podcast and we're going to talk to them. So I am super excited about all of this. I have a list of sponsors also on that link. A lot of people have come together to make sure this event goes off without a hitch. So I'd like to thank all of my sponsors. They're amazing groups of people. But yeah, it's been this journey for me, and it's actually been quite infectious. I can't believe how many people are just like, I needed to hear that, or I'm so glad you did that, or I love the guests you have. And it's a great thing because I realize that I'm not alone in my journey.
right.
But it's also been beneficial for other people as well. And I think that I couldn't have asked for more. And it's grown in leaps and bounds above anything that I had ever expected. And to think that this is only the first year just blows my mind. So
That is great. That's awesome. I'm so excited for you. I've been doing the sister to sister for about a year, and I have great response, and I'm excited. And so I talked to Brianna because I think the next thing I want to transition to is doing a podcast. So hopefully, in 2022, I'm going to launch a podcast. And so I'm gathering my equipment and things like that. So I'm excited to be able to have a podcast. But one of the things I'm starting to do is with these broadcasts, when I download them, I can download the video and audio. So I can still use the audio version, but I can't edit. But it'll always work like a podcast as well too, because I have the audio version of my shows as well too. So
that will be perfect. I'm excited for you as well. That'll be wonderful. I can't wait.
Yes, yes. So I love what I do. I can tell by the smile on your face. We love what we do. We love helping
Yes.
people. We love learning, and we love growing. And we are wanting to impact the world with what we do. And selfishly, yes, we get it helps us in the process, but then I think about all the people that we get to touch in the world with sharing our journey and sharing how we can and sharing how we help others. So I'm just blessed to be able to share this journey with you, Brianna. Thank
And
you.
I am privileged as well. It has been a blessing. I love meeting strong and empowered women, and I love when we can help empower each other. So this has been a blessing. You are a blessing. I thank you, and I think that what you do is amazing.
Well,
So
thank you. I think away. Pray. Think I should have had your tea here. If I should have. I meant to have it right here in front of me. I don't want to get up because I've got her tea. So if you want some of her teas, please reach out to her. And I think I'm gonna because a lot of times when I do shows, Brianna, you know how people do their vendor shows, they have candy and stuff. I don't give candy out. And so normally I do tea. Anybody that's been to any of my vendor shows, I normally do tea. So I'm
yeah,
going to work with Brianna to be able to package my teas and put my label on, my logo on them to be able to share when I do vendor shows. And so hopefully we can create one that's just mine
that's
and,
right.
or
That is
whatever.
right.
So
Yeah, and if the easiest way for people to get a hold of the teas too, that my personal website has a link on there for the tea company's
okay.
website. So we can just funnel everything through there and you guys can pick and choose what you want. All of my services are on there and links and social media and all that fun stuff. So
I'm going to post her link. I am BriannaJohnson.com. It will be in the show notes. Please reach out to her, say hello, check out some of her teas. They're amazing. Check out her podcast or her videos. And I'm just blessed that she's here in Springfield and I can go see her. And next, I was out there just on the other day, Wednesday. I was out there
really,
right at your street, but it was late at night where your
wow.
office is. So but anyway, I appreciate everyone for watching Sister to Sister Saturday. If you have any questions, needs, or concern, please reach out to me. I just want to say, Rebecca, praise the Lord, Sister. God bless you, Rebecca. I'm glad you're on today. I did not do my disclaimer, but I will do it now. Everything we talk about are for educational purposes. They're not to treat. They're not to diagnose, but they are for teaching and educating the public. And so this is what we do. We're educators, we're teachers, we want to help people. So we're not trying to diagnose or treat any diseases or anything like that, but we are here to help. So I appreciate it. If you want to reach out to me to learn more about the hair tissue mineral analysis, please do. I'm excited for what I'm doing. And I just talked to another doctor today and he encouraged me. So yeah, reach out to me about the hair analysis, or if you just want one-on-one coaching or just want to talk. I love conversations because one conversation can change everything. And so I'm looking to have those impactful conversations with people that are ready and to make those to change their pattern of behavior so that they can get well. So thank you, Brianna. I appreciate you being on the Sister to Sister broadcast, and we will see you soon. We may have you back on to talk about more of the herbal side of what you
Sure.
do. And so, but I'm just thankful. Take care, everybody. God bless, and we will see you next time on Sister to Sister Saturday.